Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting.
Hey, everyone.
Today, OpenAI and Cerebras shatter speed records with a 14x processing boost, Google ignites a brutal API price war, and your AI is officially tracking every single click you make on your computer.
Yeah, the arms race just went from, theoretical to deeply uncomfortably personal for anyone with a laptop.
It really did.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this. We are looking at the market's raw nervous system today, pulling directly from the top trending data and posts on X.
Right.
And our mission for you, the listener, isn't just to recap what happened in the last 24 hours. We are here to synthesize this feed, figure out exactly who is winning, who is losing, and where this entire ecosystem goes next.
Because it is moving fast.
Insanely fast. We are starting with the highest stakes battle on the board right now, which is the absolute bloodbath in the infrastructure layer. We're talking speed, storage, and the sheer cost of intelligence.
I mean, it is the physical reality behind the magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't have infinite AI without infinite compute.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the constraints of physics and capital are just violently colliding.
Well, speaking of physics, there was a massive hardware flex today from the @Cerebras handle, and the prediction market at Polymarket is already reacting.
Oh, heavily.
Yeah. Cerebras previewed what they are calling ultra-fast mode for OpenAI's GPT-5.6 Sol model. And the numbers here are just staggering. They are generating 750 tokens per second.
Which is wild.
That is up to 14 times faster than standard processing for the exact same model.
Right. And just to put 750 tokens per second into a human perspective for you, that is roughly reading an entire chapter of a novel in the exact time it takes you to blink.
Unbelievable. And they specifically noted that they speedran humanity's last exam, which is a benchmark of 2,500 incredibly dense PhD level questions.
Right.
The model finished the entire thing in 11 hours and 11 minutes. They pointed out that's nearly 7 times faster than Claude Fable 5 while maintaining the exact same accuracy.
Yeah, the accuracy retention is the crazy part.
Right. But wait, hold on. I need you to explain the underlying mechanism here because Cerebras specifically claims they are keeping the model weights entirely on chip using massive SRAM.
Yeah.
How is that even possible without the processor instantly melting? I mean, I thought the whole reason we use thousands of separate GPUs in a data center is specifically for cooling and yield.
It's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of the memory wall, which is the single biggest bottleneck in AI today. Traditional GPUs are they're kind of like master chefs who have to run across the street to the grocery store every single time they need a new ingredient.
Right.
That grocery store is called HBM, or high bandwidth memory. It is a separate chip entirely. Fetching that data back and forth across the street takes time, and it burns a massive amount of power as heat.
Okay, so what is Cerebras doing differently with SRAM?
Well, Cerebras essentially said, what if we just build a kitchen so unimaginably massive that every single ingredient in the world is already sitting right there on the counter?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they build one giant chip, literally the size of a dinner plate, and use SRAM, which is memory built directly into the processor's active computing area. No fetching across the street, just instant high-speed token pipelining.
But what about the heat?
The cooling is incredibly complex, involving liquid flowing directly over the silicon, but by eliminating the data travel time, the speed just goes exponential.
That is an elegant solution, even if it requires, brute force engineering, and the broader market is already reading the tea leaves here. Polymarket has a prediction market up right now, pricing in a 50% probability that OpenAI drops GPT-6 by the end of September.
Which makes sense.
Right. The implication being that if inference is suddenly this fast and efficient on version 5.6, the runway is totally cleared for the next generation.
But Cerebras solving the speed problem actually exposes a massive vulnerability for the rest of the industry.
How so?
Because if these frontier models can think 14 times faster, they're going to chew through their allotted compute budgets instantly. This is exactly why we are seeing a massive warning signal from Rune today on X.
Ah, you're talking about the post from the @TSZZL handle.
Yes, Rune. He points out a glaring structural issue. The broader AI industry is, in his words, extremely capacity crunched. The grid simply cannot handle the sheer volume of queries hitting it at once.
And Rune's proposed solution is that major AI companies need to commit to a real-time priced API product. An API, just as a quick refresher for the deep dive, is an application programming interface.
Yeah.
It's how developers let their software talk to OpenAI's or Google's software.
Exactly.
But why would variable pricing fix a physical server shortage?
Because AI demand follows a massive day and night curve. When the East Coast of the U.S. wakes up and starts generating reports, drafting emails and, writing code, compute becomes incredibly scarce.
Sure.
If you introduce dynamic real-time pricing, essentially Uber surge pricing for synthetic intelligence, you incentivize users to shift their heavy workloads to off-peak hours.
But I'm not going to wake up at 3 a.m. just to run my data analysis because the API is a little cheaper.
You won't, but your autonomous agent will. Right. An AI bot running in the background doesn't care what time it is. If the API price spikes at noon, your agent just automatically pauses its massive web scraping task and resumes at midnight when compute is dirt cheap.
Ah, okay. So this capacity crunch and the need to optimize every single token is exactly why we are seeing a ruthless price war erupting on the other side of the market. Which brings us to Google.
Yeah, the timing on this is aggressive.
Logan Kilpatrick over at official Logan K handle and the @Google Devs team announced Gemini 3.7 Flash today. And the timing here is what's truly wild. This is dropping only 3 weeks after they released 3.6 Flash.
A 3-week iteration cycle for a frontier-class model is almost unheard of in this space. It really shows how desperate the race has become.
And it is not just a minor patch. Google dropped the price by 50% through the end of the year. It is now sitting at just 0.75 cents per $1 million input tokens.
Monies.
Literally. But the intelligence actually leaped. They cited a 30.4% score on enterprise automation, which is up from 17% on the previous version. It had a 1588 ELO on the Web Dev Code Arena.
And for those unfamiliar with the term, ELO is a matchmaking ranking system originally used in chess. In the coding arena, hitting a 1588 ELO means Gemini is decisively beating its peers in head-to-head programming matchups.
Exactly. They are outright claiming it beats GPT-5.6, Terra, and Claude Sonnet 5 in most tests. But I want to push back on the strategy here. Google is just deciding to unilaterally subsidize the cost of intelligence.
Basically, yeah.
How does dropping the price 50% every 3 weeks make any business sense?
It makes sense when your goal is to starve the competition. I mean, this is a classic loss leader strategy weaponized at a global scale.
Yeah.
Google has a $1 trillion search and advertising business propping up their balance sheet.
Right.
They can afford to give away world-class AI, essentially at cost. When you have the price of intelligence every 3 weeks, you are fundamentally breaking the unit economics for any startup trying to compete. You are daring them to bleed out, trying to match your prices without having an ad network to fall back on.
So it's a war of attrition masked as developer discounts? But if the U.S. tech giants are fighting this brutal war of scale, it forces us to look at the macro losers. And there is a viral post from Aly Bakuch at Li Bakuch handle that puts this into stark perspective for the global market.
The sovereign lag.
Yeah.
It's a hard reality to face.
Yeah. Aly Bakuch's post raises a stark question for his followers. He points out the deals being made in the U.S. right now. Anthropic just secured over 300 megawatts from SpaceX, and they have an agreement for up to 5 gigawatts from Amazon.
5 gigawatts is just massive.
Right. Meanwhile, Europe's champion, Mistral, is scrambling, trying to figure out how to hit just 1 gigawatt by 2030. They are currently operating on tiny 44-megawatt sites near Paris. And to get to that 1 gigawatt, Bakuch notes they face a $38 billion capital challenge.
We really need to contextualize those numbers because a gigawatt gets thrown around a lot. 1 gigawatt is roughly the total power output of a large nuclear reactor. Yet it is enough energy to power a medium-sized city. Amazon is handing Anthropic 5 of those. The sheer industrial capacity required to build that out, the concrete poured, the water cooling systems, the heavy electrical substations, is a mobilization of resources we usually only associate with wartime.
And Bakuch, who used to train models in France, looks at this discrepancy and asks a very pointed question. Is Europe structurally destined to become a client state, renting U.S. compute via APIs because they simply lack the capital and the energy infrastructure to compete locally?
I mean, when the barrier to entry is literally $38 billion just to build the power plug for your servers, the moat isn't the algorithm anymore. The moat is the physical power grid.
Which directly connects to the hardware layer itself and why every single component matters right now. Michael Dell at Michael Dell handle announced today that Dell has packed nearly 10 petabytes of flash storage into a tiny 2U chassis.
2 rack units. That is roughly the size of a 6 briefcase.
Right. And he specifically noted it's designed with ultra-low latency to feed data directly into GPUs. Now, why should you, the listener, care about Dell's server rack size? Because that latency bottleneck is the exact reason your local ChatGPT app sometimes hangs for 10 seconds before answering you.
Precisely. You can have the fastest Cerebras chip in the world or the cheapest Gemini API, but if you can't feed the data into the processor fast enough, the processor just sits there, starving and wasting electricity.
Which is exactly what Peter Diamandis tweeted about today. At Peter Diamandis handle, he posted a very simple statement: memory, not compute, is the rate limiter of the agentic era. And Elon Musk replied, affirming it. But I feel like we spend all of our time talking about compute speed. Why is memory suddenly the limiting factor?
Because we are shifting from AI that answers simple questions to AI that manages entire workflows.
Right.
If an autonomous agent is going to execute multi-step, complex tasks over days or weeks, like managing a marketing campaign or writing a sprawling code base, it needs persistent, reliable recall. It needs state. If the AI can't remember the exact context of what it did yesterday, all the raw processing power in the world is completely useless. The agentic era requires memory.
Okay, so let's follow that exact thread. We've got this massive power-hungry back-end infrastructure, these ultra-cheap APIs, and this desperate push for memory and context. How does that actually manifest for you sitting at your laptop?
Yeah, it's getting very close to home.
Well, according to the timeline today, it means the AI is moving out of a little passive chat box in your browser, and it is aggressively taking over your operating system.
This is the shift from a tool you query to an environment you inhabit.
Exactly. At OpenAI devs accounts announce computer history for their macOS desktop app. This is wild.
It really is.
It's an opt-in feature where ChatGPT literally tracks your activity across your computer. It logs your clicks, your typing, and when you switch apps. They explicitly noted that this replaces the old Chronicle method, which used to just take visual screenshots of your desktop. Now, they are using native macOS accessibility events.
From an engineering standpoint, reading accessibility events is a massive efficiency upgrade. Instead of feeding hundreds of heavy, pixel-dense screenshots into a vision model, the OS simply sends a tiny text log.
Like what?
Like user clicked text field X, user type string Y. It uses vastly fewer tokens. It's faster and it's cleaner.
I want to be clear here, though. Reading accessibility events means it is logging the exact structural data of what I'm doing. It's not just a blurry picture. It's the raw data feed of my workflow.
Exactly. It knows the variable names in your code editor, the text strings in your private messages, the hidden metadata on the screen.
And OpenAI says this makes future interactions feel more personalized. You don't have to explain what you were just working on. The AI already knows. In parallel, the main @ChatGPT account announced direct Google Drive integration today.
Yeah.
You can open docs, sheets, and slides right inside the ChatGPT window and edit them side by side without ever switching tabs.
It is brilliant product design, but, it's also a masterclass in corporate lock-in.
Yeah.
OpenAI claims they process this data ephemerally, meaning it isn't stored permanently. But we have to step back and look at the trade-off being offered. Are we, as a workforce, truly ready to hand over our entire workflow telemetry, every click, every pause, every private spreadsheet, just to save a few seconds of typing out context? You are trading total visibility of your professional life for marginal convenience.
I completely agree. The privacy implications are massive. You're giving the AI a permanent, always watching seat at your desk, but maybe people will make that trade because the friction right now is so high. You pointed out a great example of this friction with Claude today.
Yes, look at the post from the @ClaudeDevs handle. They introduced a new feature for the Claude Code desktop app. It's an auto-continue checkbox.
Right. So when your AI hits a usage limit, you just check this box and it will automatically pause, wait for your rate limit to reset, and then resume the task. But are we seriously building physical checkboxes to tell our advanced AI to take a nap because the grid is too hot?
It's absurd, isn't it? And developers are absolutely furious in the replies. Because the compute crunch we talked about with Rune in the first segment is now physically throttling their day-to-day work.
Yeah.
We have built AI systems theoretically capable of migrating entire code bases autonomously, but the physical power grid cannot support the load. So we're reduced to building digital waiting rooms for our bots. It's a deeply flawed reality.
And yet, despite that friction, the push for autonomous ecosystems is only accelerating. We saw several major drops today pushing this agentic era forward. Technium, at Technium handle, launched a public beta for bot mode in the Hermes Agent desktop app.
That one is fascinating.
Instead of you just talking to an AI, you can now spin up distinct bot profiles. For example, you create a developer bot and a tester bot. You give them jobs, and they literally talk to and assign tasks to each other.
You are no longer an operator. You are becoming a manager of a synthetic workforce.
And the tools they have access to are getting insane. Firecrawl at Firecrawl handle announced they just added 41 million life science papers to a free API strictly meant for AI agents. They are claiming a 90% recall rate. Recall basically means finding the exact right needle in the massive haystack. So your little Hermes bot can instantly scour 41 million medical papers on PubMed for drug discovery data, pull the right insight 90% of the time, and hand it to another bot to write the report.
Which brings us to the underlying economics of this synthetic workforce. If you can spin up bots that converse with each other and query 41 million medical papers with superhuman recall, what is the cost of that labor?
Well, Aravind Srinivas, the CEO at Perplexity at Arav Srinivas handle, gave us the exact math today. He announced that Grok 4.6 from the @SpaceXAI handle is now available in their Pi orchestrator harness. And they ran it through their WANDER benchmark, which stands for Wide and Deep Research.
Yeah, and the results of that benchmark are the single most important economic signal of the day.
Grok 4.6 hits the Pareto frontier for performance versus cost. It scored a 0.496 on the benchmark. That matches Claude Fable 5 perfectly. But here is the kicker. It costs $7.58 per task. That is 60% less than the competition.
Let's break down why that term, the Pareto frontier, is so critical.
Yeah, please.
In economics, the Pareto frontier represents the absolute maximum efficiency curve. It means you cannot get better performance without paying significantly more money, and you cannot pay less money without sacrificing a massive amount of performance. It is the perfect sweet spot.
So what happens when AI hits that sweet spot?
It becomes a red flashing warning light for white-collar work. When you have an AI orchestrator operating at the absolute peak of economic efficiency for less than $8 a task, you have to ask yourself, what happens to junior knowledge workers?
Right.
When a manager can spin up a team of specialized bots that collaborate, query millions of documents, and synthesize complex research reports for a fraction of an entry-level salary, the market value of basic cognitive labor approaches zero. We are watching the real-time deflation of human workflow.
It's a hyper-optimized, relentless grind. The timeline today is entirely consumed by tokens per second, API limits, gigawatts, and the economic displacement of the workforce. It feels like we are just sprinting toward this synthetic singularity where human input is increasingly marginalized.
Which is exactly why the final story of the day is so profoundly jarring.
Yeah, it really is. Because after analyzing all of this digital intensity, all this anxiety over compute and APIs, the market's attention actually completely pivoted to something fundamentally analog. Ancient, even.
And utterly indifferent to compute cycles.
NASA, at NASA handle, dropped a series of high-quality photos from yesterday's total solar eclipse, August 12, 2026. The photos are spectacular. They captured the sun's corona, a massive red prominence flaring off the edge, and this incredible wide shot of totality hanging over a sunflower field.
Beautiful.
It was visible across parts of Northern Europe and North America, and the post just went massively viral. Millions of views, tens of thousands of organic replies.
It is a rare moment of philosophical clarity for the timeline. We spend all day debating whether Google's 50% price cut will starve Mistral's data center, or if an accessibility event tracker on macOS is a fatal breach of human autonomy, and then a giant rock passes in front of a star.
And the whole world just stops to look.
Precisely. It generated millions of organic interactions without a single algorithm prompting it. Physical reality and shared human experience still command a 100% engagement rate. The sun does not have an API limit.
Right.
The moon doesn't require a real-time dynamic pricing model to cast a shadow across the Earth. It is a vital reminder that while we are busy building these incredibly complex, fragile, power-hungry digital architectures, the physical universe continues to operate on a scale that makes a 5-gigawatt data center look like a grain of sand.
It really puts the capacity crunch into perspective, doesn't it? Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, you always look for the second-order effects. Based on everything we've synthesized today, the brutal price wars, the speed records, the desktop takeover, what is your prediction for where the market moves tomorrow?
It comes back to that underlying tension between convenience and autonomy we discussed in segment 2. Because of the explosive rollout of OpenAI's computer history and these always-on desktop agents tracking every single accessibility event, we're going to see a fierce immune response from the enterprise sector. By tomorrow, I predict we will see a massive spike in venture capital flowing directly toward AI privacy shields.
Like startups building countermeasures, software designed to fight the AI.
Exactly. Companies entirely dedicated to spoofing, obfuscating, or flat-out blocking AI telemetry on enterprise machines. If the operating system is watching every keystroke to feed a local model, the next billion-dollar industry is the software that blinds the watcher. The cat-and-mouse game is officially moving from network security to workflow security.
And it all loops back to that raw nervous system of the market. They build a faster brain to track your every click, so someone else builds a better shield to hide it.
Exactly.
As you log onto your computer tomorrow, ask yourself this. If the AI is doing the thinking and autonomous agents are doing the working, what exactly is your new job description? But even deeper, if the privacy shield you use to protect yourself is also powered by AI, who are you trusting more? The AI doing your work or the AI hiding it? Think about it. That's the tape for today. Stay sharp, watch your margins, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Vibe Casting.